It's known throughout the higher level trafficking community that their leadership for their paramilitary wing are 4 former U.S. Special Forces. You've got a Green Beret, a Green Beret, that's Delta Force, 2 Navy SEALs, and a Ranger from the 75th Ranger Regiment. Those are the leaders.
Oh, man.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's jump right into it, into the internet's newest crazy rumors and conspiracy theory. And that is that the Jalisco Cartel's paramilitary wing is actually being run by a Delta Force operator / Green Beret, 2 Navy SEALs, and a 75th Ranger Regiment Ranger. Now, if this is true, this is absolutely nuts. But today what we're going to do in this video is talk about the realistic likelihoods of whether this could actually be true or not. Okay, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. I've reached out to dozens of people from every unit involved, including active duty, and we've got some interesting information. But where did this all start? Okay, this started a few days ago in a interview over on the Ironclad podcast. Great episode where they had on a guest named Pierre Rausini, I believe his name is. Sorry if I butchered that. Who was a former Los Angeles drug kingpin, did over 25 years in prison, dealt extensively with the Sinaloa cartels. Very interesting guest. Also, I'll say, before we jump into it, because we're going to watch the clips of what he said in there, this interview was very, very good. I thought it was very interesting. And when we talk about credibility from a source, and we're going to get into whether this is credible or not, I mean, this guest knows way more about the cartels than I do. I learned a lot just from watching this, completely outside of these special operators being involved type thing. So I'd highly suggest you go over and watch that video. I'll link it in the description. All right, guys, before we get started in the story, though, I want you to put your best guess before watching the video in the comment section of, do you think that it's true we have special operators running the Jalisco cartels, or do you think this is just made up rumors, right? Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Really helps the channel in the video. And before we jump in, quick 60 seconds, let us pay the bills from our sponsors over at HPTRT.
What's going on, everybody? I'm here to talk about my newest partnership with the premier online men's clinic, HPTRT. Look, if you're a middle-aged man and you go to the gym, you've got no energy, low libido, lethargy, you can't keep the fat off, you can't put the muscle on, chances are you have low testosterone. I did myself, got it checked, testosterone levels in the 200s. What did I do? Got myself on TRT, changed my entire life. As you can see, now, no problem keeping the weight off, no problem keeping that muscle on. So, guys, if you want to change your life in ways nothing else is going to, you got to get your hormones in check. HPTRT, head on over, get a consultation, meet with a real good qualified doctor, and get that TRT shipped directly to your house. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump back into this workout.
All right, so first thing we got to do, let's actually watch the clips and see what Pierre Rausini had to say about supposedly all these soft operators running the Jalisco cartels. And then we'll break it down as we go. Really good, like 2-minute clip, and we'll stop and talk about it as we go through it.
Jalisco New Generation is much more militaristic. You know, Sinaloa prides itself on being clever. So they're going to adopt a posture where they'll just take a lower profile. The group out of Jalisco is the more militaristic group, and it's known throughout the higher level trafficking community that their leadership for their paramilitary wing are 4 former U.S. Special Forces. You've got a Green Beret, a Green Beret, that's Delta Force, 2 Navy SEALs, and a Ranger from the 75th Ranger Regiment. Those are the leaders.
Oh, man.
All right, real quick. So there you go. The Jalisco New Generation paramilitary wing being run by a bunch of soft operators. I will say, as good as this episode was, this statement was kind of made in passing, as we'll see as we go through it, where the only evidence brought forward, and again, I'm not knocking the interviewer or anything like that, or the interviewee. I'm just saying, or if you're going to make giant claims like this, right? Like, what's some background, what's some evidence, anything like that, which I'm sure he might have, which would be interesting to see going forward. But The only thing we get is that it's known through the higher level drug trafficking community that this is true. Okay, that's going to be important later when we talk about likelihoods. All right, so important context there. Let's jump back into it.
Hold on. I'm from the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness. I've never heard this before. So the top four for the CJNG.
Yes. They had the American Special Forces handle the actual building of their paramilitary. So they
okay, this is going to be super important going forward, this next section where he talks about basically the cartel, up and coming cartel members coming from different places in Central and South America and being trained at Fort Bragg and things like this. And we're going to talk about that, but very important part of the interview right here.
recruited former Mexican Special Forces, which is the next tier of leadership. Their main body is former Mexican military personnel, and then they bolster it with special forces from Central American countries, Honduras, El Salvador, Panama. These are all guys that come to the United States to get trained. They get trained by our guys at Bragg. They get trained at the School of the Americans in Georgia, and counterinsurgency type training. And so when they go back to their countries and they finish their tour of service, they get paid top dollar. Remember, Jalisco New Generation generates $3-4 billion a year.
Right. So what he's talking about there, a bunch of different Central and South American companies sending their special forces operators to get trained by America. Yes, guys, we have basically a foreign exchange. For those who didn't know, we have a foreign exchange student sort of program in the Special Forces qualification course. We have foreign students with us all the time being trained in the exact same training as us as Green Berets. And that includes Special Forces soldiers from Mexico, South America, Colombia, all these different places. So this type of thing is very realistically likely. Now, what he's talking about there, where you have, these Special Forces soldiers from foreign countries being training and then going back to their countries and then being part of the cartels, 100%. I guarantee this is happening, right? That's not shocking at all. But the claims that 4 U.S. soft members are running the paramilitary wing of the cartels, we got to maybe break that down a little bit. All right, but first I want to talk about what I've been able to drudge up through all my phone calls and all the guys I know in different units and stuff like that. Much like Vince that said there that, he's from the 75th Ranger Regiment. He's never heard of this. Myself, as a Green Beret, I'd never heard rumors of this. So I talked to dozens of fellow Green Berets, active duty, Delta Force, right? Guys I know all over the units, not asking for anything sensitive or anything like that. Base level, just asking, have you ever even heard a rumor about this? Okay. And got some very interesting responses. Okay. So for the most part, almost nobody had ever heard anything about this. The only thing I could get out of potentially, some of the guys was that there's jokes throughout the hallways sometimes about how much money you could potentially make if you went to work for the cartels. That's it. No one had ever heard of this specific. And this is from Delta, 7th Group, SEALs, everybody I talked to. Nobody's ever heard of this. That's going to be important as we move forward. Okay. But let's talk about the possibilities. Could this be real? All right. So we're going to weigh these. Okay. What are the potentials that make this seem credible? What are the potentials that make this seem unlikely? And we're going to start with the ones that make this seem like it could be true first. All right. So first of all, why could this possibly be true? Biggest one is this ain't the first time this type of stuff has been going on. A lot of soft operators have been caught in the drug trafficking world or admitted to being in the drug trafficking world with the cartels in 7th Group. Okay. You may have heard or may not, but I'll talk about a story real quick. Happened just a couple years ago of a 7th Grouper getting caught trying to smuggle 90 kilos of cocaine into the country. All right. So 7th Group soldier pleads guilty, reveals details of cocaine smuggling scheme. Right. And so won't get too into it, but down here in the bottom said Gold previously had pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of conspiring to import and distribute cocaine. The charges were filed after August 13th. Discovery of nearly 90 pounds of cocaine concealed in 2 heavy bags, which were punching bags, in the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. So he was attempting to smuggle almost 90 pounds of cocaine. That's a lot of money and drugs. Not only that, but I'm sure you guys have heard the stories. He's out and open about it. one of the biggest podcasters in the world, literally used to be in a drug ring in Colombia. Okay, if you forgot about that, here it is.
I was going down there doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't be doing, cocaine, and then once I left the agency, I kind of started building a network down there, and it was exciting to me. I was in overseas, building my own network, kind of felt like I was kind of running my own operations.
There you go. Right. No knock, but like, this is the type of thing that's happened in the past. We know it's happened. So is there a possibility that could be true? Of course. Right. Not only that, talk about like seventh group. Let's say this is seventh group Green Beret, which I would assume it is. Okay. Talking about building out a network there and knowing people. Well, if you worked extensively with, the Mexican Special Forces or the Marines or whoever, which seventh group has, right? If you guys, I talked about in the last story about training the enemy, seventh group accidentally trained a bunch of Los Zeta cartel members at one point. All right. And then the next biggest one is incentives, the money, right? You talk about the amount of money in contracting, military contracting is very, very high in general. Now you talk about contracting for the cartels at the top levels of the paramilitary wing. I mean, these guys are probably getting paid, millions to tens of millions of dollars to do this type of thing. So when you talk about risk versus reward, which we'll get into here in the next part of it, people are willing to do risky shit to make millions and millions of dollars. So from that lens, do I think it is possible that there's some soft dudes running the paramilitary wing of the Jalisco cartels? Yes, I think it's possible. Doesn't mean it's true or it's likely. We got to evaluate the other side of things that make me think this is probably not true. All right, biggest one right out the gate is managing to have kept this a secret. Okay, so like I talked about, man, in special operations community, it is nearly impossible to keep things secret. So the odds that a Delta Force operator, 2 Navy SEALs who haven't wrote a book about this already somehow, and a 75th Ranger Regiment operator all have been doing this together, and no one in the special operations community has ever heard anything about this. That is highly, highly suspect to me. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean it's not possible, but seems incredibly, incredibly unlikely that this, at least as a rumor, would have been floating around the nether at some point. All right. Next is risk versus reward. We talked about that. Is the rewards high? Yes. Very, very high in strictly financial terms. The risk, however, is obscenely high for these guys. Okay. If this were to be true, these guys are going to become the Department of Defense and the CIA's public enemy #1 worldwide immediately. All right. This is going to be massive. And guys, if they were to get caught and brought back home, 4 former soft dudes training the paramilitary wing of one of the most violent cartels in the world, yeah, you're going away for life, forever. Like, no questions about it, right? These dudes. So again, that doesn't mean people don't do risky stuff, but again, the second these guys get found out to who they are, they're going to get tracked down and found. All right. And the soft operator understands, like, you can't hide from big bad America. If they want to find you, they'll find you. Okay. And then next, for why I think it's probably not likely, is no. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of, believing anything mainstream media, but this is like one of the biggest news stories of all time, if it were to be true. And the media cycle is heavily focused on the border and the cartels right now. If this type of story had any credibility, and it may still, right? We could be in the early stages of this. The second the mainstream media gets a whiff out of this, it is going to get blown to the moon. Okay. Especially if the left were to find credibility in this. Why? Well, they want to call veterans domestic terrorists. And now all of a sudden they can blame the cartel problem on veterans and American special operators. They would love that. Right. So, and we haven't seen anything of that. So again, doesn't mean it's not possible. Doesn't mean it might not be true. But we need a conclusion to the video. And so I've got to put out my best guess of, is this most likely not true or true? Okay. And I will say straight up to you guys, again, this is 100% speculation on my part. Okay. I haven't been able to drudge up any really great info disproving or proving this. So what I'm going to say is, as of right now, okay, the only information we have is it's known throughout the high-level drug trafficking community. That's our only evidence. I'm going to say no. I don't believe it's true. Okay. I believe it might have been rumors, something like that. However, if we do get more information, names, I think there's definitely a likelihood that this could hold some credibility to it. But for now, I'm going to say I think it's probably just rumors and conspiracy in the wind. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Super interesting. Also, again, go watch that podcast. That podcast was phenomenal. All right. Appreciate it, guys. I hope we get more information on this one going forward, because it's a super crazy story. I hope this isn't just it got said in passing and nobody ever hears about it ever again, right? But we'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.